Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Agentic CMO. I am Dave Lehman, President and COO here at Birdeye, and I am back from my vacation in Costa Rica, and back with my purple jacket instead of my purple cocktail. So that was a little bit more fun. And I've got another fantastic guest today to talk about all things AI, agentic, multi-location marketing, and how we all get ahead in this new and exciting world. So I am joined today by Cameron LiButti, who is the founder of Bidview Marketing. Cameron, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, this is fantastic. Well, Cameron, would love to hear a little bit about your background and your business, and even how you got into this crazy world.
Yeah, it was backwards. I walked into a lot of things in my life backwards, but I was a mechanical engineer first.
That was me too. There we go. We're lining up already.
Yeah. All right. Well, I haven't found a lot of engineers in the marketing world. I find them, being in Chicago in the trading world and other places. But I was, the entrepreneur bug bit me hard kind of early out of college, and I thought I could do this. But the first stop was, how do you market anything? And so I started to teach myself, how do you market stuff? And I did the thing that I think every young 20-year-old does, and start selling supplements online. And if we had a great run, I mean, I was 20 years old. I wasn't married. I didn't have any kids. So we just had a blast. But that's where I really cut my teeth on building websites, tons of paid ads. And towards the end, I started to get into SEO. And that was right around the time, since this is the Agentic Marketing Podcast, that was right around the time that Google started introducing machine learning. So like 2015-ish. And it was pretty natural for me. We don't have to go this deep, but the calculus behind machine learning was pretty obvious to me. Like, I got it. And so just understanding how the algorithm was changing for SEO, I got into that, and that led me down the path of doing local businesses. So I worked with a real estate team out in Nevada for a while. He actually helped me start the marketing company. He's now one of the largest real estate teams in the state of Nevada out of Vegas, and they're crushing it. But that was my entry into this. And then in 2019, I had a doctor reach out and said, "Hey, can you help me?" And I said, "Oh, I don't do client work." And he said, "Well, you're helping the real estate team." I'm like, "Well, kind of, but I do my own stuff." And he convinced me. That's right around then. I was like, "Okay, how will I scale a marketing company?" And we started working with him, and that was the good old days of getting some reviews and fixing a Google business profile, and the phone just exploded, and we tripled his phone calls in 3 months just by fixing a Google business profile, which today I wish there were things like that you could do. But that was the start. That was the start of the business.
That's great. I've talked on other episodes about you get the marketers who are the picture people, you get the marketers who are the word people, and then there's the ones that are the numbers people. It sounds like you're one of those numbers guys, and demand gen and that side.
I hire the creative people. I do the data, the strategy. That's weaving my way through all of the numbers, which AI has obviously helped with a ton now. But yes, that was the early days, was the data.
Got it. And then so Bidview Marketing, where do you guys focus now?
We market ourselves as all local professionals. So doctors, lawyers, engineers. The engineering firm that I used to work for is one of our clients now. I still have a great relationship with them. Their current CEO was the one who introduced me to my wife, so her and I are still close. But yeah, so still mostly with them, and then kind of it's a secret. We don't really market ourselves, but I get a handful of some 9-figure companies around the United States who my name has gotten in there, and they've brought me in for just more advanced like data analytics around their SEO, and now the AI stuff, whatever we want to call it, geo, AI, SEO, whatever name we're giving. Yes, but I'll consult with them once in a while. But we're pretty busy on the other side, so I try to stay over there a little bit more now.
Fantastic. Well, look, a lot of our customers, again, mainly in that location-based world, sounds like a lot of industries you're pretty familiar with. are dealing with the changing consumer behavior, right? It used to all be Google. Google's the front door. Let's get that looking right, and that drives performance. And that hasn't gone away. It's still an important aspect. But so much of the traffic and mind share and high quality traffic is now coming through the ChatGPTs, other aspects of Google, like Gemini and their AI overviews, Perplexity, Claude, like these new areas. What's been your experience there? What do people need to be thinking about in this world? How does it overlap with or completely different than SEO in your point of view? What does that look like?
So I've been using the same line before AI was a thing, and I find I'm still doing it today. Is where are your clients, patient customers coming from? So it's a question that I find most business owners haven't asked themselves. Now, with Birdeye, I know we probably have a lot of overlap in the types of people we're working with. I find in the doctors specifically that I just get like, they just shrug. They go, I don't know. We serve anybody who has this problem. Well, I work with a lot of doctors in similar industries across the United States. That's not always true. So the first question is like, who are your patients? Do you have a real ICP? Because just saying I see everybody who wears glasses or everyone who has hearing aids or needs their teeth cleaned isn't necessarily the right answer. And so my story for this is we work with a tax attorney who gets about 40 to 50% of all of his new leads come through ChatGPT. And that's like a huge number. And then we work with some audiologists. They fit their doctors who fit hearing aids. They get less than right now about 5%. A year ago, they got about 1%. So it is growing. But the point of that is to explain that the why is the tax attorney seeing more of his percentage from AI than the audiologist. So in general, audiologists see patients that are 65 plus. So understand that they're not AI native type of people. They're not jumping into ChatGPT. They're not comfortable with Gemini. They're still using Google Maps. They're still looking at reviews. They're still getting referrals from doctors, then checking your online reviews, right? Very important. Where a tax attorney, he gets no referrals. So when I learned this, I said, where do your new, like, how many referrals do you get? And he looked at me like I was a crazy person when I asked that question. He goes, nobody talks about, like, if they call me, they're in trouble. They're worried they're going to jail. So nobody's ever going to say, do you have a good tax attorney? Because that means at some point in their life, they were in tax trouble. It's like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And so what ChatGPT has done for him specifically, or that company, is compressed what I call like speed to lead. So somebody jumps into ChatGPT, I didn't pay my taxes, I didn't do this thing. Am I going to prison? And ChatGPT intelligently routes them like, hey, you need a tax attorney. I happen to know a guy. He's right down the street. So it's back to your original question. It's understanding how do your clients, patient, customers come in the door. If you have a tax attorney situation, then you better be optimizing pretty quickly and rapidly for those AI platforms. And there are obviously some differences in how you optimize for them versus if you're more traditionally medical. I'm telling those medical clients, like, hey, yes, it is coming. We can see it, but careful. Like, we have so many stories in this past year of people ripping down websites, chasing AI search results, all to just burn it all down. This sounds like I'm bragging, and I am bragging a little bit. A friend of mine in a SaaS company emailed me, said, hey, this other SaaS company is ranking on AI. He sent me the website. I said, it's going to crash. I'll give it less than 4 weeks. That website crashes. He goes, how do you know that? I said, because I can see what he's doing. And he goes, I'm going to do it too. I said, you're going to crash too. Before he got to it, that website crashed within like the week that I had predicted, because he was using these like AI listicles, like self-serving AI methodologies. He was pumping too much content through his site. And it was clear as day to anybody who does SEO, but to like a business owner who needs leads or is excited, they just see that line going up and they're like, I'll just copy him. So point being, the AI techniques that you find on Reddit or X, those listicle, still see that from, I think, reputable SEOs say, hey, just build a listicle on your website, put yourself as number one. I'm like, I wouldn't do that. And you don't need to do that in local businesses. I think it's more common in the SaaS industry. But point being, careful chasing those early AI techniques right now.
Yeah. But there's still a huge opportunity if you do this right. I mean, right? Like, especially, if you've been behind on the SEO side, there's you can actually leapfrog some of the people that are there, following the right strategies. But
Google gave a pretty good presentation. Was it in April, May now, where they talked about non-commodity content? So we're talking about having I call it have a point of view. So if you have I don't know, if you have a service page up, talk about how a patient came in, if this is a medical or law, like a patient or customer came in with this problem or this health ailment. What were the different paths you took to try and solve this? How did you solve it ultimately? And what was the outcome? Google loves that. Like, how do you have that point of view? What's that story? Because only you, as the professional, can talk about that. If you still want to maintain your healthy traditional SEO results, I mean, John Mueller from Google just talked about this a couple of weeks ago on X. Like he said, stop ripping out well-optimized pages chasing AI rankings. It's a good reminder. Not that everything he says is always true, as us in this industry know, but point being, the AIs are getting smarter. It's still a very young industry. To go rip out everything you built to chase some things can be a little misleading. I think a lot of people also just never did good SEO, so they were missing their FAQ pages. They had a poorly structured site. They didn't have the typical H1 tags. So to maybe me or you, where that's really obvious, and we see them chasing these AI techniques, and then we go look, it's like, oh, you didn't even do the basics first. Like, what are we doing, guys? So, yeah.
yeah, the technical foundation of that stuff is pretty straightforward, and it should be an additive type of thing versus, okay, I'm gonna rip out or replace these things. What have you seen, Karen, with your customers? Like I said, different industries, different volume of leads coming from these sources. How about on the conversion side? Is it been, we've heard stories of some of these things converting at 3, 4, 5x, other sources, but what's been your experience?
The medical industry seems to be pretty consistent. Like, I haven't seen a big uptick, but then in the legal industry where it feels like you're talking to a friend that's answered your question, obviously the conversion is increasing. Like he's saying, like all of his every time he asks somebody at this point, it's like almost half have said, "Oh, we came through AI." Our clients are in that awkward, I call it the awkward revenue range, where they're like big enough to do certain things, but then they have trouble on lead identification, no matter how much we ask them to track.
Like the
Uh,
attribution side of
Attribution is
things?
brutal, right? So we can see that the traffic numbers
There's
are
a lot of
increasing.
hopping too, by the way, right? Like they'll
Yes,
start and to your point,
yes,
you ask them and say, "Oh yeah, I started it on ChatGPT," but then at the end, I still went to Google and checked some of these things.
yes. Well, the thing we hear the most, so a lot of our doctors are funny, where like the legal industry is not like this, just doctors specifically, and it's just a personality trait where the idea that they would need to get a review is like, I won't need to get reviews. I'm a doctor, right? But their competitors have reviews, which is what you want to hear, right? Like that's who you want to sell into, right? Like those make great clients. Uh, where I'm big on reviews. So what a lot of our clients who start getting reviews here is the patients will come in the door and they'll be like, yeah, I talked to so and so and they recommended 2 doctors. But then I looked at the reviews. And so I selected you because you had more or better or unique reviews. And so to your point, they're hopping around. So if they are coming to ChatGPT, they're older, they're definitely still going. The only In my experience, the only generation that's not using reviews the way that traditionally have been used is Gen Z, where millennials, X, and boomers still want to see those reviews, where Gen Z wants more of a personal. They treat social media more as like a friend. So if somebody like an influencer recommends something, they trust it a little bit more versus the older generation still want to go check those reviews.
What have you seen with the LLMs? Are they? I mean, we've seen that the trust signals are high. A high signal for them. Are influencers a high signal for the LLMs?
In local, I don't have a lot of data on that just because we don't work with a lot of, but I do have I have a few doctors that do have large social media followings, and they like to attribute a lot of their success to that social media, but they don't end up having a localized um, footprint, I guess, if you will, like a localized following. They get like national following. So it's very hard to attribute that to their success versus like, hey, somebody's in maps, somebody's in the LLMs, they're looking for it. I do think there is definitely some component, feels like we're in that change right now. Like Google, was it 3-4 weeks ago, you can add your social media profiles to Google Search Console. So we're still acquiring that data now. Like, does that matter? Will it change? Google historically has had, Google's always wanted to get into the social media game. I think in the last year, they finally said, hey, our CapEx is going to get spent more on standing up like AI data centers and that direction than fighting this social media thing. So feels like they've kind of not raised the white flag, but said, hey, that's not where we're spending our money anymore. And they're starting to play nice with X and LinkedIn and Meta, where obviously YouTube is still, in my opinion, the strongest AI citation for a business if you can put yourself on YouTube. But people confuse that. They think like, oh, it's an AI citation. I mean, it was always a great citation. I mean, there were YouTube softwares back in 2017 and 18 that would spin up a single YouTube video and it would like change it ever so slightly so you could post like hundreds. It does the good old days, hundreds at a time. And so we always have known that YouTube was a good place to gain, authority. And now the AIs are citing it, which is no surprise.
On the AI visibility, how are you helping companies see how they're doing, check their rankings? Like what's that look like for you and your customers?
So we're using a lot of the data analytics tools that we use are now having AI visibility reporting. So it's just for us, it's folding that into the traditional keyword searching, the traditional Google My Business data, and now the AI visibility data is just the next layer that's getting folded in. And then so we're checking that on the data side, and then on the adjustment side. So this is actually something in the last few weeks we've talked about, but making all of our websites MCP ready. So at some point, right, you'll be able to, and I don't know the technical level of some of the people listening, but basically model context protocol, and AI will be able to go to the website. You say, hey, I need a dentist in Chicago. It can hit one of our websites, and the AI has the ability to read what's on that website.
Yeah, I mean,
We
it's
will,
essentially the new
yeah,
APIs for
correct.
the AI world, right?
Yes. hmm
Yeah.
Yeah. And so an AI can hit that website and read it and interact with it. We don't control their schedule, their online schedulers, because usually that goes through their CRM. So we'll embed a form. But in that situation, right, we're trying to contact or talk to these CRM companies, say, hey, how are people going to be able to schedule with these? What will that look like? A lot of things to be solved. I mean, we're in the middle of it right now. So a lot of things to be solved for. But yeah, AI visibility data is coming from your traditional whether that be Ahrefs or data for SEO, we're just folding that into a lot of our data analytics, understanding how it relates to the work that we're doing, and then preparing the sites themselves for actual AIs to show up and read and interact with them.
Yeah, what we're seeing is some of the tools out there for the AI visibility. First of all, are just looking at like the brand level, right? And especially when you've got multi-location and they're blind, or it's like the study we did was like 1 in 5 of those individual locations are completely invisible on these sites. So while the brand may be looking good, the other thing we've been talking a lot with our customers about recently is the prompts that you're using. If you're going to go out and test your AI visibility, and I think it kind of comes back to what you were saying originally, Cameron, like where are these people coming from and what are they searching or whatever? Like you got to ask the system the right question. And actually what we're doing is working with a lot of customers, say, hey, let's go into your old reviews. Let's go see what people are saying and how they talk about your business and your service, and use those for the prompts to make sure you're really tuning these things the right way. Because it's kind of like the old, measuring are you measuring the right keywords in your old SEO business, or, there's a new equivalent of that in this AI visibility world.
The fan out queries, yeah, the fan out queries is messy. Uh, we spend a lot of time trying to solve that, right? It was used to be so. Obviously, you're well versed in SEO, but it was such an not an exact science, but it felt like an exact science, right? It was an evolution of the card catalog from the library to what the search engine was, where now we've transitioned into this prediction machine that is using a different form of math, different form of algebra to calculate what the probability of the next word or concept is. And so we've completely adjusted from like a very, very engineering in a box approach to this very messy, how does a human think approach. And so we're working with this unique concept that you're trying to overlay with a old way of doing things. So the fan out query
Well,
thing
in the
is interesting.
the consumer behaviors changed as well, right? Like we had to train them to do this word. Even the good ones were a plus sign and an and or like you sort of you teach them to, and now that's out the window, right? Whether they're doing speech to text or just they're used to typing these big long questions now because the engine can handle it. Now as a business, how do you become relevant there? It's a new world.
I always lean back, like, to simplify it for when I'm talking to a client of ours. I always come back to simplifying. Like, the goal of these businesses is to provide the best answer, the best information. And so, if you're not trying to cheat the system, usually you're moving in the right direction. So, I I'm not saying this because I'm on your podcast, but the first thing I always say is like, what's your review building strategy? Because if you don't have one, you have to have one. Or if nobody knows who you are, if you're not third party validated from your customers or clients, like we're starting at like beyond zero. Right? We got a lot of work to do. But yeah,
Well,
the
it's not
point being
just
is
volume anymore though, too. You got to get the
right,
right depth
the right
in these
words. Yes.
reviews and we've been working
Hmm.
with a lot of clients to not just take, okay, great, I got my teeth cleaned, give me a review. Okay, you had this procedure done. Talk to me about how that was. And they're naturally, giving more context rich, which these LLMs absolutely love. It's gold for
Yes,
them. So
absolutely.
hey, Cameron, this is great. Want to shift topics just a little bit. Um, there's that world, the consumer world that's changing a lot, but the world of the marketer and how they run their internal organization, what tools they use, how they use LLMs and foundational models directly. How are you seeing that shift with your clients or with your business as you try and support more clients?
So, uh, yes, my view on how to use AI in business has shifted quite a bit this year. My brother-in-law actually said this to me. He works for a large technology company, and he said how the one of the C-suite people was telling everybody to do their AI training, just check it off so the other C-suite person stops bothering me. And I saw this with my company. So there's 13 of us here. And I saw this earlier in the year. I was teaching it. I was all excited about AI. It was very natural for me, former engineer, very natural. How do you think in systems and processes? And I had a GPT-2 seat in 2019. So like this has been something I've been excited for a long time. So I tried to start teaching my team how to use it. And somebody in a meeting said something about a CSV file and she's been using AI. And I said, hold on a second, explain that. What do you mean you're doing So what are you doing with CSVs and AI? She said, well, yeah, I'm prompting the AI to download the CSV because I hooked it up via MCP. I'm like, that's just like a button that you just download. Like, what are we using tokens for to do that? And that was kind of like a light bulb moment for me. It was like, there's no amount of AI training that I can give to certain personality traits that are going to use it in a systems way. So I did something pretty drastic, but basically I said, how are we going to be successful going forward with AI when it's not natural? Like this is the early 90s when Excel came out and computers came out and lawyers retired. They're like, I'm just not going to use a computer. So we're kind of like in that weird spot right now. And so our system runs on a harness. I don't know if you're familiar with this concept of a harness, but Claude is a harness itself. GPT's down Codex, so they've changed the name a few times, as a harness. Perplexity you can think of as a harness, but we have Bidview's harness. And so I built a harness that you only interact with it as a team member at Bidview through our task management system. We use a very famous task management software. It's not unique. We didn't build it. I do not believe as a marketing company, it's our responsibility to be building software. It's our job to build marketing systems. So I Lego blocked the whole thing together with enterprise grade software, from a task management system to an enterprise level vector database, which for those who don't know, that's how AI learns and thinks and grows, to a traditional database. It's not SQL, but for those who are listening, think of it as like an SQL database. And then we use an MCP server, and that's where all of our like AI tooling goes. And we've tied this whole system together so people no longer have to they don't have to go into Claude or ChatGPT and learn how to prompt. The system itself is doing the work, and they're interacting with it as if they're interacting with like a senior manager, right? And so my analogy is the humans are the guardrails and the AI is the middle 80%. So that's how we've implemented AI here. And so what it's allowed us to do is I'm big on data, obviously, we've talked about that, but how do you analyze more competitor data faster? So we're tracking all of our clients' competitors tighter. We are running things that we were running quarterly, we're running monthly to weekly to daily. We call them watchdogs, but we have constantly scanning websites. It's just accelerated everything we can do because of the power of AI. And I will say, if you do it correctly and make it more, the term is deterministic, it's less, you're relying less on the AIs to think than you realize. We've used the AIs to help us build this tooling, but when it comes to actually making the decisions, it's, are these trend lines moving out of bounds one way or the other? And then what are the decisions we're making? So that's how we've been implementing AI, because I was frustrated watching everybody get different results no matter what I taught them. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be painful. We had the same thing. We had we take like phone calls from sales calls and put that in instead of putting it in a central place and having one transcript, we had 7 different people writing to the same, because you can, and all of a sudden, like, why did we burn through all our tokens today? Well, that's all. But,
Yes.
well, and I love what you're saying there as well, Cameron, about finding the right tools as well. Your guys' job is to deliver marketing performance, not to recreate software that's there. It's our responsibility. It's the software company's responsibility to do these things right, put the right context in place, put the right memory in place, everything that you need to do your job versus, just especially with the hallucination that you get, like, especially on numbers, it's scary, right? Like you need a known data set that works. So, Cameron, we're running a little bit short on time here, but there's been a great conversation. Any last bit of advice for those CMOs, those upcoming marketers out there who are trying to do a better job in this new AI world?
I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's still all consistency. There's still no, I still keep hearing, and I think this is just human nature, but everyone's looking for some like magic. What's the magic AI citation, or what's the magic website structure? And at the end of the day, it's consistent. If you're getting leads from social media, are you consistently posting? If you're getting leads from doing podcasts, are you consistently doing podcasts? Are you getting leads from getting your reviews? Are you consistently I can't tell you how many times I've been like, you got to get reviews, and they get reviews for a month, and then 3 months later, it's like, you haven't gotten any reviews. It's like, that's where your leads come from. To be consistent. I think that's the most important thing that people can remember in marketing. That hasn't changed.
Fantastic. Well, Cameron, really appreciated the time. It's a great set of knowledge. Love the way you think about things with data. It's clear you are an agentic marketer, an agentic CMO. So I certainly live up to that world. But for those out joining us, thank you for spending some time with us. Do not miss, we are coming up on View 2026, September 9th and 10th. Register now. It's free, it's virtual, great speakers. We've got people coming in from Google, from Yelp, from G2, from amazing customers as well. Sign up today. Again, just coming up here in September, just a couple of weeks away. But thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on the next Agentic CMO.